Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we're going to be interviewing a candidate for County Council District 2, TK Wehrsig. A little bit about HULI before we start our interview. HULI PAC was birthed from a shared drive to rework our system by seeking āina-based equity-focused leadership for our Hawai'i Island community. Now more than ever, we need leaders who are willing to circle back to our roots and instill real change in our community. From Kona to Ka'u to Hilo to Hawaii, the time is now to HULI the system. Conducting our interview tonight is Mikela Okuchi and Christine Kubat. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to them shortly, but TK, why don't we start out by having you tell us why you're running for office. I think that's a good way to start.
How's it, everybody? So my name is Timothy TK Wehrsig. I've been pretty much going by TK since I was a little kid, so that's what I'm more well known for. The thing that inspired me to run is I run a huge Facebook group that is like a huge island watch, neighborhood watch kind of thing that goes on. And for the past 6 years, I don't benefit from it. It's all from free. It's all from the heart. And I felt like I spent a whole lifetime now, 6 years of my life holding people accountable for the things that they do. And I felt like going to the next level. And I'm not a politician, by far. I haven't been in politics and even been really interested. I'm still kind of learning the left and the whole right thing. I don't think it's 100% important to know those things at the county council level, but I'm slowly starting to learn all these things. I'm a quick learner. I have a clothing business. And pretty much from the conception of the idea all the way to the customer's hands, I do everything. At one point, I didn't know none of that. I learned that. I've ran businesses before. And then now I also started the Big Island Thieves media. So the main reason why I'm running is just because I wanted to be more active in the community and the decisions that are made for my island and my community, and to voice for the voiceless, for the people that I see frustrated day in and day out on, Big Island Thieves and stuff.
Well, thank you, TK, for stepping up to the plate and taking a vested interest in the community. I think we have in our question list, we have Christine asking the first question.
Okay, well, you just explained to us why you decided to run for office. And so maybe now you could share a little bit of what your core values are and how you would want to bring those core values forward as an elected official.
Well, I think my core values basically come from accountability, honesty. At times I'm a little bit too honest, but I feel like there's nothing wrong with being honest. I think people get a fresh air from hearing things, honest answers from people, even though sometimes it's not what we agree with. The point, at least the person is being honest. A lot of my values come from my parents. They were both active in the community. My father was Jerry Wehrsig. He was a football coach, and he coached from Little League, from Pop Warner all the way high school and up to the semi-pros. My mom was super active she was Sally Wehrsig. She was super active in the community as well. She worked at Easter Seals for a number of years, Kukua Nurses. She ended up retiring and then starting to work and starting a whole department after the Office of Aging to help with the kapunas. So a lot of my core values also come from the fact that I was raised from these two people with their values. They're both from here. My dad on two sides goes back 4 generations in the islands. My mom's goes back before 1779. So we can date our family back to before Captain Cook guys came. So, sorry, I had something in my mouth. But I get both of my values from them, and it's being honest about things, being upfront with people, and holding people accountable, including yourself for your actions and your words and your promises. That's why throughout my campaign, one of the things I haven't been out there making promises to anybody, because for one, it's a 2-year term. I'm not too sure how much I can accomplish in 2 years, And the second thing is that I don't want to be that guy, because I have to. You guys are part of my community as well. You guys are on the same island. I'm going to see you guys, even though we're in different districts, I'm going to see you guys shopping in stores. We travel around the island, and I don't want any of you guys to be able to come up to me and just be like, you know what, Ray, you let me down. Like you said, you're going to do this and do that. So with that, I also have a background in mixed martial arts, right? In MMA. I was a fighter for a little while. That helped me with the running the group of the Big Island Thieves. And what it also does is that it puts me in a position where I always felt I could speak for the voiceless, right? So not everybody has something to say, but not everybody's ready to say it or wants to say it in front of people. And so I've never been afraid of that. So I always speak for the voiceless whenever they ask me to speak for them. And the other thing is just basically standing up for the ones who are not in positions, you know, like such as the handicap, because my mom was part of Easter Seals. A lot of that is passionate to me. My mom was a beautiful woman. I've never seen her get upset except when somebody parked in the handicap stall. Right. And so for me, that left a lot with me, you know what I mean? And that's why like people would get on me on Big Island Thieves about, you know, why do you leave a post up when somebody's parking in their space? Because it means so much. That's why there's designated parking spaces. But my core values basically come from my parents. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's being honest, it's holding people accountable. And I feel that there should be accountability on all levels of government. And I can hold them accountable from where I'm at now, but having a seat at the table with them puts me in a better position to see exactly what they're doing and hold them accountable as well.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you. Our next question is asked by me. And, you know, you've talked a little bit about Big Island Thieves, and so you've touched on that. However, in general, how have you advocated for your community and or what community projects have you worked on that you're really excited about?
Okay, so avocation, right? Like, and how have I worked in my community? A lot of the things that I do is, you know, when it comes to like Big Island things, a lot of things is unseen, you know, and the way that it is in Hawaii, it's like, we don't need, you know, the way that we're raised is like, it's not like, hey, look at me, I did something good. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of disrespectful. You know, you got to be humble about who you are and just do things to do it, you know? So there's a lot of things that I've been working on. One of the things is recently I started the Instagram Big Island Thieves because it's a younger crowd. And with that, a lot of the runaways, they see their pictures on there and they end up contacting me. So I end up talking to these runaways, right? Texting with them or DMing and telling them they want me to take down their post. And I'll be like, okay, I'll make you a deal. If you go home tomorrow, I'll take your post home. I'll take the post down tonight, but you got to go home tomorrow or you got to go back to wherever's tomorrow. And 9 out of 10 so far, they've gone back. You know, so I've been working on that, you know, for the runaways and dealing with the youth and helping the youth with what they have. And I've been advocating for, you know, like I said, accountability is one of the things that I put out there. The fact that people need to be held accountable for what they do. You know, there seems to be a movement right now of almost like not punishing people when they do crimes. And it doesn't matter how small it is. If as a small business owner, right, as the t-shirt company, whenever I would hold a booth, if somebody comes and steals a shirt from me, the shirts are at value $20. $20 isn't a lot, but it's a lot for me, you know, because I had to put my time, my effort, I had to pay for all that stuff for that shirt. So when they start looking at laws and they're like, oh, you know, it should, after $1,000, then it becomes a big thing. You know, these are things that I don't think that should be good for our community. I also believe that we need to hold people accountable. And then the ones after they have served their time, we need to help get them back into the community and teach them how to bring value. Because the way that I was raised, you either bring value or you take value away. The way of the islands is basically when you go to a place, you either leave it better, you leave it the same as you found it, or you leave it better. And so for me, all I'm trying to do is leave it better, you know?
Okay. Thank you, Christine.
Okay, from your point of view, what are the most pressing issues facing your district, your community that you would represent, and what political actions can be taken to relieve those issues?
So I think the biggest issue, and I guess it's because of what I primarily work on, is public safety. You know, regardless of what age you are, you know, what class you are, what race, anything, everyone is affected by crime. You know what I mean? We're all affected by crime and we should all feel safe in our communities and in our homes. And slowly by slowly, from what I can see on social media, it's not something that's just happening in Hilo Town. It's not something that's just happening in Kona or Pohoa or, you know, a little bit in Waimea or Honoka Town. or Hawaii, you know what I mean? All these places, slowly by slowly, we're starting to get this population influx of homeless coming, and a lot of them aren't from here. And so what happens is that sadly, I only have 3 minutes, so I can't share the whole philosophy of what I have, but I have direct influence through 2 friends of why it's so important of the people who have mental issues that we need to find a way to deal with them before it gets too far. I mean, in Kona today, we have one person who's just been arrested for 2 murders and 2 attempted murders, and he stabbed them. And I don't even know if he knew who these people were. And these are the things that we need to work on as a community to spot. I mean, the guy was able to get up to 4 victims, you know, over a amount of time. So for me, I advocate basically just to hold people accountable, you know, even the judges. When the judges don't, you know, I reach out to judges, and at other times I put them on blast when they're letting these people out. There was one guy who stole a car. The judge let him out. He stole another car. Judge let him out again. He stole another car. That's 2 people who became victims who didn't have to be. So what I basically push the hardest for is basically a safer society, you know, a place where we can go shopping and we don't have to worry about someone with mental illness going off on us, or someone that is down in our towns. You know, it's not the place it was where I grew up. So I'm trying to bring back the way things were when it was safe. And I feel because I'm 42 now, right? The community was safe because my aunties and uncles made it that way for me. I'm 42 now. I'm an uncle. It's my turn to take the baton and to make the society safe. So I advocate for a safe society, for kids programs and kapuna programs to bring them all back. And the third one is basically our economy. And I think one of the best things for our economy is to support local, keeping the money in the islands.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. That is great. Thank you. My next question is, do you think that the current council is effective? If yes, why? And if not, what do you think needs improvement?
At the point that we're at right now, I think that there are certain people out there that is effective, but I think we are all different human beings. You know, like there's 4 of us in this chat room right now. We all have different experiences. We all have different things that are more important to each other. You know, like things that we hold, that we think that our community should be worked on first. And I think that's one thing that we need to look at, is the aspect of, do we bring in, there's county council, there's 9 members. Do we bring in 9 people who all want the same direction of the same things? Because then what happens is everything else seems to be put on the back burner. One of the things that, you know, crime has been something that's been put off. I think that, you know, there's a lot of focus. I'm not sure if you guys will come up on that later, but there's a lot of focus on, you know, a greener Hawaii. And, you know, I believe in the greener Hawaii, but I believe that there's people on the county council right now who are focusing on that. And that is one of their passions. And we should let the person who's the most passionate about it move forward. I feel that there are some other members who are just kind of going through the motions, and through the community, from what I hear, there's some of them that they feel aren't doing anything. You know, my thing is I think we work with what we know and what we're passionate about. And I don't really want to hate on anybody that's on the county council, because after, you know what I mean, if elected, I have, you know, the term is 2 years. In 2 years, I think I'll be in a position where I can say, hey, this person did this good, this person did not. Because I've never been in county council, I can't really say what people are doing good and what they're doing bad, because I don't know 100% the restrictions in which they had to face, or the blowbacks from the other 8 members that sit on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine, I think she has the next question, starting on our platform issues with affordable housing.
So I feel like I want to circle back a little bit on homelessness, because yeah, I'm just kind of picking up on different things, like that's you know, an issue of concern for you. So I'm wondering if you could share your understanding of the root causes of homelessness, and then after that, maybe ideas for addressing them. So like what causes it? Why are people sleeping on the streets unsheltered?
Okay, so I mean, I kind of feel that's an impossible question to kind of answer in a way, because there's been there's been homeless people since the days of the Bible. You know what I mean? So there's always been, whether it's, and I don't think that there was much drug addiction back there, or, but there must have been mental illness because they speak about it back then. But I would say now 2/3 probably of it is either drug problems, mental illness, or dual diagnosis. But what happens is that there's only so much there's only so much funds to put towards it. There's only so much rooms in the houses that we can put up. And as long as we keep getting an influx of people that are coming from the mainland, when the mainland is sending these people with their drug addictions or with their mental illness over to Hawaii, we can't take care of everyone. It's impossible. We have limited resources. We are one of the most isolated places in the world. It's not like the mainland where we can just drive over to another state and bring back some more resources. We only have so much. So I think if we are able to focus on more the local people, being anyone that's born in the islands, we can find a way to deal more with drug rehab programs, with mental illness programs. But as long as we have an influx of all these states sending us their homeless, there's no way we're ever going to get ahead of it. You know, and it's hard to diagnose because we don't even know what some of these people's issues are. We just see random people on the street, but we don't know exactly how far or what triggers them and how bad it could get. We had a guy in Hilo about 6 years, I think 5-6 years ago, who, you know, came here from the mainland. He was homeless and he killed another lady on the street just because he just felt like it. And, you know, all loss of life is tragic, but nobody knew that he was here. He got off the plane, he got all the programs, but there's no way for us to, you know, I mean, if anything we've learned from Corona with the whole safe travels is we can screen through the airport. So if we can find a program where we can screen for any of these people that they know in the mainland have mental illness to catch them before they come, or even when they come here and they go to get assistance, if there's a database that they can check to see when people have these mental illness or drug problems, then we can know how to address it a little bit better. But like I said, the cause of homelessness, it can range from upbringing, bad luck in life, drug addiction, you know what I mean? The list just goes on and on. Laziness. It could be 100 things, you know? So I can't really say what causes homelessness, but I can say that whatever it is, we need to find a way to deal with it. But we have to find out on a case-to-case basis.
Thank you.
My
Okay,
next question.
Michaela.
Yes. My next question has to do with Native Hawaiian rights. And so I wanted to know, from your perspective, what do you see as the most pressing issue facing Native Hawaiians on Hawai'i Island, and what would you like to do about it?
Okay, the most pressing issue above all, I think, is Hawaiian homes. Sadly, County Council doesn't have much that they can do about Hawaiian homes because it's a state program, right? But Hawaiian homes was set up to get the people on the land. And I know a little bit earlier, you guys had asked about, you know, hinted at something like a question of affordable housing. Hawaiian homes is probably the best affordable housing program out there, because what it does is it basically gives you affordable land so you can focus the bulk of your loan that you're able to get on building a house, because it's an affordable lease, right? But with the Hawaiians, what's happening is that for whatever reasons, whether it's they're dragging their knuckles, the program is dragging its knuckles on being able to put them on the land or get the infrastructures. The biggest thing I think for the Hawaiian people is that the program itself should be getting all the Hawaiians. There's no reason for any Kanaka to not have a house here, to be homeless, because there is a program set up so that this wouldn't happen. And what it basically means is that people are slacking. So I think the most pressing issue right now that we have is the fact of the Hawaiian people that are basically struggling just to get by, and the possibly hundreds dying on the list. You know, it's not something that we can really do anything as a county council member, but as a county council member, the most that I feel I can do with that is I can make a lot more noise, and it will have a lot more credibility because I'm part of the county council.
Thank you.
Christine?
So this next question is going to require some understanding of the community development plans. Have you heard of these before, KT?
Are you talking about the Hilo, the community development? Because I know that different communities have different plans.
Yes.
So
Okay.
are you talking about like the downtown association one? Are you talking about like some HOAs or?
There's a CDP plan for each district as well as one for the entire county.
Okay, yeah.
These are plans that the process is sponsored by the county planning department. The community gets together. They have people who become part of the planning committee, and they sit down, and it's basically like each community develops its own plan for how it would like to see, development occur or address different issues, or what's the future for transportation in the area. It's a pretty thorough process.
Mhm.
So just, even with that basic understanding, there's a sort of a little bit of a debate going on where some people feel that this planning process, because the community has been so involved in it, should actually take the force of law. So if the community comes up with a plan, then that should be like what's on the books. And other people feel like it should just be advisory. Would you have any ideas about that?
I mean, I would go with your first one that you said, honestly, like if the people from the community show up, you know what I mean? People want to be more than just heard. So if we have like there are things right now that we have voted on in past elections that still haven't they still haven't gone into effect. And so I think that anytime when the community, like for me, I'm running for County Council District 2. Basically, the job is a representative. I am the voice of my district. So my job is supposed to be to go throughout the districts and find out what my community, what my district want. And when it comes to certain issues, vote on that because I am a representative. It isn't about, I'm the chief now of Hilo. You know what I mean? Like I get to make all the decisions. It's about how I feel about certain issues and stuff. I'm supposed to be representing the voice of the people. And any time that we have the opportunity to have the people have a voice and the voice is overwhelming on how they feel, then we should always listen to the community and the voice of the people. So I would say like with what you're saying, the first one, I mean, if it comes down to advisory, then it comes down to personal feelings about, you know what I mean? More power goes to a small group of people, which that works in times when there's too much information coming in for them to sift through all the information. But if you have a community meeting and people feel overwhelmed about a certain subject, then the community should be listened to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Michaela?
My next question has to do with our economy. I was just wondering, what economic opportunities are you most excited about on Hawai'i Island right now?
I don't know. Like I would say agriculture is a huge one that we need to start focusing on a lot. Like we need to take advantage of the fact that, I mean, some parts of our islands, especially out along the Hamakua coast, the land had been kind of overused from the sugarcane industry. But there are other parts, within Puna and other parts of our island where the land is still super fertile. And we need to find a way for us to, like, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but do you guys like kale? You like kale?
Yes.
Oh, you guys like kale?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know how anybody likes kale, but that's one of the hugest things out there, and everybody loves kale. How could they not like taro leaves? Because it's super healthy for us as well. And it's one of the things that's common from here. Like the kalo plant can be used from the leaves all the way down. When you cut off the leaves, you cut off the bottom, you get the poi from the bottom, you get the leaves from the top, and you put it right back in the ground and it keeps growing. I don't know how we're not pushing poi out with how healthy it is, how we're not pushing poi out to the world and not push and luau leaves, right? And the leaves of the kalo plant. When to me, it's like, bro, people eat kale. I mean, kale chips are pretty good. I'm not going to hate on kale chips. They're pretty good. But I mean, straight up kale for me is like, oh, this is like kind of rough, right? And how come people won't eat if they'll eat this, they'll guarantee eat it. I think we just need to push it out. But then at the same time, we kind of have a little bit of a shortage here because it's so good for us that all of us, we indulge and we eat a lot of it. So we'd have to go back to, helping these farmers to use, with the water rights of people and everybody sharing the water and bringing back the fields. And also the good thing about the kalo is what it does for the ecosystem. because the way that, the Hawaiians were sustainable. They were in the middle of the ocean. And that's one of the things that a lot of people that were shippers, when they're finding and they're reading their journals, are talking about how amazed they were at how sustainable the Hawaiian people were. And then a big part of it was the kalo fields, you know what I mean? So that's something that I feel that we could, push that out. And I'm super excited about the world trying it, depending on how they want it. If they want to put a little bit of sugar to help themselves with the poi. The other thing is, it's hard for us, but we brand the aloha. And I like the fact that we've gotten a lot more attention for the aloha spirit and for the aloha things that's coming, and a lot more of the culture. We have the hard part is everything's focused on the tourist industry, right? And so we need to find alternatives, but at the same time, tourists will always be a thing in Hawaii. We're one of the 50th states that you can go to, one of the states of the United States that they feel they can go to where they're still within the United States and go and enjoy an island vacation. So we need to find a way with that to educate the tourists before they come in about certain things, because like I said, it's our culture to leave things as they was or leave it better. And what happens is that if we don't teach this to these people, there's how much things of tourists coming and disrespecting certain sites. And if they destroy something, it's gone forever. It's like, it's never coming back. You go and you knock down the wall, you can never put it back the way it was where it was built by the people. So my most exciting part would probably be like in finding ways to brand things, because a lot of people don't know that it's actually cheaper to ship out than it is to ship in. So, and I found this out through my clothing line, from shipping clothings and stuff like that. So it's pretty crazy.
Thank you, Christine. You're muted, Christine.
Yeah, sorry about that. So a term that gets tossed around a lot is food security, food sovereignty. And I wonder what those words mean to you.
Food security. Okay, food security to me means that, okay, if we had any natural disaster, be it a hurricane, tidal wave, it could even possibly come down to a lava flow. Everything's a chance here on the Big Island. If it takes out our shipping docks, they're saying at a minimum, I'm thinking somewhere around 2 weeks to 2 months before we could get any help that would come. But if we were self-sustainable in what we had, then maybe what we need is, the help that we're waiting on is the medical supplies. Because if we don't have food within 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to get really dangerous here. I'm pretty sure like everybody's seen like Walking Dead and how gruesome that thing can get, and they're doing just for supplies, right? So to me, the first one is basically being able to sustain ourselves off of what we have already here, not having to go out and get some more. What was the second part that you wanted to know? The meaning of?
It's basically the same thing, food sovereignty, food security.
Oh yeah, food sovereignty, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So us having our own supply of food, and I think there's been a huge negative dogma that's come out over being a farmer, like there's no rappers or musicians out there, well, country music, but there's not a lot of, hip hop music or any of the new music that comes out where they glorify being a farmer, and so farming is a hard job, and we need to help to glorify that again so that people get back into getting into the sustainability and finding what grows here, what grows best, and what we're able to get us in a position of self-sustainability. I mean, we only, even when it comes to I'm not sure you guys like kale, but I'm a meat eater, right? So we only for the cattle here for meat, we only have 2 slaughterhouses here. And technically what we do with a lot of the meat is a lot of the cattle, they're brought here, they're fed here, they're raised here, and then they're shipped back to the mainland so that they can process them, and then they bring the meat back. And all along the lines, and when we go to the shopping mart, we're paying for all that extra mileage that it has to go. If we cut that little bit more out, and what happens if for that 2 weeks, that 2 months, or if it's bad, we don't have any place to process the meat except for 2 places, which are going to get overloaded for a whole island that wants meat. then we all got to eat kale.
Okay, to McKella for our next question.
Thank you. My next question has to do with climate change mitigation in our county. So regarding sea level rise adaptation, seawall permits, counties have the discretion to regulate setbacks and permits for hardening shorelines. The movement around the state and in other coastal areas is to anticipate and regulate a managed shoreline retreat. What other preparations should we be making for sea level rise now?
Okay, this is gonna be a cold answer. You need to move away from the ocean. You know what I mean? Like Mother Nature always wins. You know what I mean? You can only maybe prolong it, but like I tell people all the time, Mother Nature is gonna always win. You know, and everyone who owns shoreline property, even though I mean with this saying right here, I might lose votes from it. Everyone knew what they were buying when they bought it. You know, you bought something close. It's the same thing with the people who buy land where there's a chance of a lava flow, or if you buy land that's in flooding, you know what the chances are. You know, and so, you know, as far as the setbacks, like I don't know why we should be helping people that bought land where eventually it was going to happen. I mean, we couldn't tell, you know, 10, 15 years ago that we were headed in this direction, because from my understanding, like a little while ago, the globalists thought that we were actually the planet was more cooling off, I think, instead of heating up. You know, so it's depending on who you talk to for that kind of thing. But for me, it's just, if you live next to the ocean, right, you have to do what you got to do to protect your house. You know, so if you got to go out there and try to build a retaining wall on sand, it is what it is, but that's what comes with the property that you built. You know, like, I don't think that the taxpayers should be paying for the decisions that people made that are being effective. And like I said, at the end of the day, nature always wins. So all we'll do is we'll prolong what you know, what the āina wants, you know. So that's just how I feel with that. And, you know, it's not a really popular thing, but like I said in the beginning, you know, I believe in being honest.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for that. Christine?
So managing waste is a core function of county government. And diverting organics from the waste stream is a really first step towards making the waste stream more manageable and preventing the production of methane, which is has a greater impact on climate than carbon dioxide. So the county has, in the past, at one point, they were going to fund this development of a single composting facility in Keau. And the idea is that all the organics would get brought there and composted and then sent back out to wherever they were going to get used. And some people in the community have come up and said, no, that's not a good idea, that we should be composting locally. We should be, you know, getting the materials and processing them close to where they're not only generated, but where they're going to get used. And I just wonder where you stand on that. And then I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Okay.
So when it comes to compost, like as you were starting off, I was thinking to myself, like, how come people just don't do it at their house? You know what I mean? Like a small corner in your yard, you know, you make a compost pile, you know what I mean? The worms help. It helps. But then again, I'm a janitor, right? That's my main job that I do right now. And I work at the college, and this is one of the craziest things, right? So there's a program that comes in on the weekend, and there's two benches, okay, next to each other. And on one side is a rubbish can, and on the other side is a recycle bin. And every Monday when I come in, I have to take the cans and the bottles out of the rubbish can and walk them to the side of the other side of the two tables and put them in the recycle bin, right? So the reason why I brought that up is because, like with the composting, some people just don't want to deal with it. You know, so I think that an option should be there for the people that don't want to deal with it, but want to do the right thing and take a lot of their rubbish, because some people want to keep their lot completely clean. We don't have a place to throw rubbish, right? So I think that the county should step in and make at least a facility for people to put it at. But at the same time, we should also leave the option for the public to be able to compost on their own. You know, it's just, I wouldn't, I know that we have compost piles at helo dump. You know, I'm not too sure how much of I know that there's in on the west side too, because I see once in a while, you know, when they shut it down, they send out the alerts. So I've been posting about how they shut down, you know, certain ones because there's shortage of workers or some other issue. So I think things are in order right now, but in order for me to make a full decision, I would want to be fully educated on exactly what the county is looking at right now and what they plan to do. And a lot of times all the information that they release is not all the information that they do possess. You know, so yeah. So to
Okay.
follow up.
Yeah, so well, we'll correct the first part a little bit first. So the question was between single large composting facility or smaller distributed composting facilities in the community.
Around the community. Yeah, I'll go with around the island.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up question is, what, if any, ideas you might have for how food waste could get collected and brought into composting system in addition to green waste? So right now the county collects green waste
Mhm.
and they mulch it and then they do like an enhanced mulch, which is kind of close to compost, but they're not exactly composting yet. But so how could we do you have any ideas for how we could collect food waste and bring it into the process?
I think the food waste one, that's going to be a touchy subject. The reason why certain plastics now they're not accepting for recycling is because there was food waste residue in it and because of what happens with it. Compost is one thing because we're talking about normally compost is greenery, right? Like bushes, trees, you know, grass, all that kind of stuff. When it comes to trees and all that kind of things, like the regular compost that we basically have most of the time, those things can sit for like a day or two and it's not too bad. But when it comes to food, like we're talking about almost daily, like at the schools, they have people that come to pick up the slop, right? We have our cafeteria, we have people that come to pick up the slop, and it has to be a daily thing. That would be something to find with funding. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure if you guys are talking about like when it comes to it with putting it towards sustainability, as in, you know what I mean, where wildlife, we're feeding the wild stock and stuff with it, or if you're looking at just putting it someplace to turn it into soil to put back into the ground. But I don't know, like I've never really looked into recycling of food. You know, most of I have dogs, so they're my food compost recycling. You know, they get all my leftovers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Michaela?
Okay, my next question has to do with social issues.
Mhm.
So the foster system is currently overwhelmed, and 25% of youth end up houseless within 2 years of exiting the foster system. This often feeds into other social issues such as drug abuse,
Mhm.
sex trafficking, and more. What
Mhm.
can we do, in your opinion, to help resolve this?
I think when it comes to the fostering it, like they have great benefits, and they just passed a law right now for researching the foster parents, because one of the issues that they run into is not everybody who fosters is good people. You know, some people are in it for the wrong reasons. So that's one of the things that they're trying to work on right now. And but the hard part about it is that you know, a lot of the kids, you know, sadly, a lot of these kids that come into the foster system, sadly, they come from, you know, like homes that didn't have the regular structure that people should have growing up. You know what I mean? Role models or any of these things. Some of them go through a very hard lifestyle before they end up in the foster system. And when they come over into the foster system, it's hard for them to trust the people that they come in, you know, that they end up with the fosters. I have a friend who has 2 foster children, you know, and they used to foster all the time before. And, you know, for foster, the other thing with fostering is this, that a lot of times you can't live with someone and not grow bonds with them. And as a foster parent, it's super hard because you get these kids come in, you find out what beautiful people they are. And then it gets to a certain point where the courts are like, oh, we're going to put them back with their family because we believe that family should stay together. And that's not always the best thing. And they take them away from a good house where they're at and they don't want to leave. I think it takes a village, as people in a community. That's the whole thing, right? Over here, it's all aunties, uncles. We all help each other. We help with other people. There are people out there who are fostering kids who aren't in the system. I was partially Hana'id from the Lealoha family. I was Hana'id from them, but it was, I spent half of my life with them, and I was raised with them and got some of their values that came in. And that's the Hanaina. And I mean, the Hanai stuff is one thing that we kind of have here. I don't know what they can do that they're not already trying to do. I think that it just comes down to taking a look at the programs and seeing which programs are working and which ones aren't. And the one good thing about me is that I have, like, if you go into my campaign spending and stuff like that, you guys can see that from my donations. I'm not taking money from any of the big corporations or any of these big things. And most of the time, even with social interest groups, because I don't want to have to owe anybody anything. Like if anybody wants to donate, it's because they believe in me. And that's what I like. And a lot of times why I brought that up is because sometimes what happens is people have alternative motives or ulterior motives. And when they get in, they're going to help their friend keep their program, which is not working. And that kind of stuff cannot go with me. You know what I mean? So I think taking a look at what we have and what's working and what's not. One of the other things, like I said, I circle back around to accountability. A kid runs away, right? The police go and pick up the kid. They take them back to interim home. As soon as they leave, the kid runs away again. The people at interim home cannot stop the kid from running away. They have to let him go. Now the police are back out on the streets looking for them again. They can catch the kid, bring him back. If we had something like a juvenile detention center, and I'm not talking about Kolau or DH, I'm talking about just some place to house them. We have underneath our old state building, our Hilo State building, we have the old holding cells. If they could even hold these kids for 24 hours, it would give them the realization of the possibility of what's to come if they stay on the path that they're on. Because by the time they get to an older age and they start, like you said, with drug abuse and they've been sex trafficked, like so much more demons have come to them that it's so hard to bring them back, where we got to catch them when they're young. So if we start teaching them accountability from a young age, I think that would help a lot, and pushing more of the family structure here, regardless of what the family is, at least two people that can be role models, two parents.
Thank you. And we have time for a couple more questions. Christine?
Okay, coral restoration is an important endeavor, and we're learning more about it, wanting to get more involved, state level, county as well, federal level. So coral, to be able to restore.
Coral, okay. Sorry, I thought you said core at first.
Oh, well, that too.
Yeah. Okay. Coral restoration. Yeah. Okay. Coral. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah. And so to restore the coral, to actually bring it back, you need periods where the coral can fertilize itself and the new little polyps or the new little whatevers can attach to the coral. And so to really do this right, we would shut down public beaches in West Hawaii for during the coral spawning. Is this something that you would support?
100%. They just did it, right? They just had one. And the DLNR put out a media release that says, even though you're not seeing it, it's happening. And they try to put out pictures of all the coral of how it's slowly coming back. Like, this is so important with our oceans. Our ocean provide us food as well. All of us, I mean, not everybody eats fish, right? But a lot of us eat fish, and the fish, the āina provides. So coral is something that's part of that ecosystem that we have to take care of, even with the enforcing of the sunblocks, that are hazardous. It's nice that the county, I don't know if it was the county or the state, but they put up those little stations where you can pump your own at the station and put on the sunblock before you get to the beach. But the ultimate way is to let nature take its course and to leave it be. And so I agree with the fact that they're shutting down certain beaches, and I think everybody can take a break from one spot. You know, we get one other one. If it's for something that's gonna benefit our kids, you know, then we definitely can just take a little bit of a break from this beach, then that beach, then that beach. And it's not like they're shutting down the whole west coast of the island, you know what I mean, the whole east coast or anything. They're shutting down, you know, beach by beach, and they're going during a certain seasons when they see the most productivity. So yeah, I'm 100% for them for shutting down beaches just so that they can let the āina heal itself.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. All right, last question from Michaela.
Hey, my next question has to do with infrastructure.
Mm.
So several current electric vehicle charging stations around the island have been found to be inoperative for long periods of time.
Mhm.
How would you work to help develop an adequate network to keep pace with the demand for more chargers for these electric vehicles and a means to ensure that they stay maintained and safely accessible?
Okay, so electric vehicles is a huge topic right now, right? And this is one thing. This is the dark side of electric vehicles. Now, for me, I wanted to pick up on I don't know what the name of it is, but you know those super tiny ones, the ones that's like 2-seaters with the small. But I love those cars. I think those is the cutest things in the world. And I'm like, I'm for anything that's not going to cost me a whole bunch of money in gas, especially with gas prices, right? So I love that. But then at the other part, you know what I mean, wanting to be a little bit fancy and bougie, I'm like, okay, I want to get a Tesla, you know, because the Tesla has self-driving capabilities. All right. The only thing that has deterred me from getting an electrical vehicle is the increase that I will see in my electrical bill at my house. And because of the gas prices and because our energy over here is predominantly through fossil fuels and it's dependent on the gas prices, the higher the gas prices go, I'm still going to be paying a lot more for my electrical vehicles. Now, for your question, so that I answer that and don't just like dance away from it. I work at Hawaii Community College. If you guys ever come over to the Hilo side and you drive past Hawaii Community College, we have this huge electrical charging station that's in front of the campus. On county council, I'm not sure if it passed through, but I know it was in, is there was a bill that every parking lot that has 50 stalls has to have a electrical charging station for each one. The one thing is that they're charging now, right? So that can help to pay for the charging stations. They talked about also about it when they're broken. So if you report they're broken, then the people who own the businesses have to fix it, right? So there are bills and resolutions right now that are in our county council already where they're trying to address these questions that you're asking. So it's already set up. It's just following through on the plan of what they put. But anyways, back to Hawaii Community College, the one that we have when you drive past, it's a huge solar panel, right? With the batteries, it's not even part of the campus, but it's a company that has like a huge solar panel, and then you park underneath and you can charge your car. This is a way that it's a lot cheaper for businesses to follow that rule of the 50 parking spaces, having the solar stuff and being within compliance of that, right? And not having to do the infrastructure of digging up the grounds and running the electrical cords. Now, the other thing is I agree with you when it comes to, like you said, maintaining. Also talking about my side, because, you know, this is primarily where I'm at. One of the places that was one of the first ones to have charging stations was Home Depot. I don't know if you guys been to the Hilo one. I don't know if I even want to touch that. That looks dangerous. It just looks so weathered. So maintaining, if I had my Tesla or my cute little car, 9 out of 10, I'm going to park at Target across the street because theirs ones look a lot more safer to use than the one that's at Home Depot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to die trying to hook up my car. So I believe that things are already in county council that they're moving towards, you know, making it, I don't know how affordable it's going to be for small businesses, but there are things that are already in motion, and it's just making sure that it becomes this is the plan, let's execute. Not this is the plan, this is the can, let's kick it down the road and hope the next person takes care of the problem.
All right, thank you, TK. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, TK Wehrsig, County Council District 2 candidate. Thank you to Christine and Michaela for conducting the interviews. At HULI, we're building something that the political establishment has never seen a slate of Hono leaders. Your donation can really buoy the system. So if you'd like to get more information or make a donation, please visit our website, hulihi.com, HULIHI.com. Thanks very much.
Definitely. Pono.
Thank you.